Although Logan Sargent is no longer driving in Formula 1, there have been so many Formula 1 drivers to come from the United States over the years. Indeed, the Indianapolis 500 ended up being part of the calendar between 1950 and 1960. So with that, the United States has actually provided more Formula 1 drivers than any other nation other than the UK, which is something incredible really when you think about it. But which are the best F1 drivers to come from the United States over the years? Well, I've gone through the records, I've got my opinions on this, and let's have a look at the top 5 US Formula 1 drivers of all time. So at number 5, I've gone for Richie Ginther. Shout out to Eddie Cheever. I was tempted to put him into this list, but he never won a Grand Prix. Ginther did, of course. He managed to win one time in his career between 1960 and 1967. In total, he got 14 podiums for the likes of Ferrari, BRM, Honda, Cooper, and Eagle as well. He was a decent Formula 1 driver in his day. This is of course when the championship was a lot shorter as well, a lot less races to go on, but he did manage to finish as high as 3rd place overall for BRM in 1963. His only win coming at the Mexican Grand Prix in 1965. Number 4 on my list, it's Peter Revson, another driver from the US who managed to win a race, 2 of them in total, 8 podiums during his time in F1. He had a long career in F1, a long time anyway. He had the few entries that he had in 1964, but then came back full time between 71 and 74. Unfortunately, another driver in these kind of videos that did pass away before his time. He passed away during testing for the South African Grand Prix in 1974. Had he lived, he could have maybe achieved a bit more. He was 35 at the time. He still had a long time ahead of him anyway, and it really sad that he ended up passing away like that. He was 5th in the championship overall in both 1972 and 1973 as well. In 73, he did get his 2 victories as well, around Silverstone and also the Canadian Grand Prix. Number 3 on my list, and the highest placed driver who never won the World Championship. I've got 2 champions in the top 2 spots. It's Dan Gurney. Now, Dan Gurney, for some, is one of the best drivers to never win the World Championship. 4 victories and 19 podiums in his career for the likes of Ferrari, BRM, Porsche, Lotus, Brabham and McLaren. And you might recognise the name Gurney from the Gurney flap, an aerodynamic device that was actually invented by Gurney himself. This was of course back in the days when Formula 1 drivers actually used to work on their own cars sometimes. They really understood the intricacies of it, and the Gurney flap was something that Dan Gurney invented, and it really did caught on and became a very early kind of application of aerodynamics in Formula 1. His career spanned between 1959 and 1970. So a very long time back in the day. One of the true journeymen of Formula 1 during this time. His highest place overall in the Formula 1 World Championship was 4th place, which he managed to get in 1961 and also 1965. His longevity for me makes him a better driver than what Revson was during his time, but of course Revson could have gone on to achieve more had he lived. That's always a caveat there, but I think for what Gurney did achieve and the longevity he had in Formula 1, he really was a class driver back in the day. Number 2 on my list is Phil Hill, the only ever US-born Formula 1 World Champion, winning the championship in 1961, albeit in very tragic circumstances where his teammate Wolfgang von Trips ended up passing away with just a few races to go during a crash at the Italian Grand Prix. Very sad really that happened, and I think that really did kind of ruin his appetite to compete at the top level in Formula 1. He kept going for a few more years of course, but I think he said that really spoiled it for him. Often called the nicest man in racing, he didn't really want to even win races, he didn't want to beat people, but he did beat a few people though, of course winning the World Championships in 61, 3 wins to his name along with 16 podiums in a career spanning from 1958 to 1966. He drove for the likes of Maserati, Ferrari, Cooper, Porsche, Lotus, McLaren and Eagle in various different teams there at the end of the day. So fair play to Phil Hill. Apparently a massive car collector as well, really kind of sparked the classic car collection kind of craze in America during the early days as well of that. But number 1, who else is it going to be? It can't be anybody else other than Mario Andretti. Andretti is a living legend of Formula 1 and also just of motorsport in general. For me, one of the best drivers of all time, because he's one of the guys that has managed to win in Formula 1, in NASCAR, and IndyCar as well, and endurance racing. I think he's won titles in all 4 of them, the only man to ever do that, which is just something else really. And the longevity of the guy has to be spoken about as well. I mean, he retired from IndyCar in his 50s. I'm sure nearly 60 maybe, you know. He was really getting on, and he was still competing at the top level, still a top level driver. In Formula 1, he dipped in and out of the series over the years, but he did manage to win the championship in 1978. I think the final championship for Lotus as well during that time. Again, another person who actually his teammate passed away in tragic circumstances shortly before the end of the season. Ronnie Peterson in that case. But yeah, 12 victories, 19 podiums in a career spanning between 1968 and 1982. He has to be on here. Won races and got podiums for the likes of Lotus, Ferrari, Alfa Romeo, Williams as well. Didn't even know he drove from Williams. That's an odd one. You know, you always find a bit of trivia with Mario Andretti. One of the all-time legends of motorsport. And when you think about a motorsport star in the United States, it's got to be Andretti. That name is just synonymous with speed, and of course is a team that is trying to enter Formula 1 now, and of course has been a very successful name in IndyCar as well. So yeah, those are my top 5 United States Grand Prix drivers of all time. Guys, let us know yours in the comments below, and of course keep it subscribed to the F1Chronicle.com to see much more video content in the lead up to the USGP just like this. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you soon, guys. Have a good one.